The room fell silent just one heartbeat after the crystal glass tipped. Deep crimson wine splashed across the young man's black suit, soaked his white shirt, and dripped from his hair onto the polished marble floor. Nearly 200 wealthy guests watched in stunned silence as whispers spread across the grand ballroom. Some smiled. Some laughed. Others simply looked away, unwilling to stop the humiliation unfolding before them. No one in that glittering hall realized they had just insulted the one man whose signature would decide the future of a $1 billion business empire before the sun went down. Before we continue, if you believe kindness always matters more than appearances, please take a moment to like this video, leave a comment, share it with someone who believes in second chances, and subscribe to Heartline Stories. Your support helps us bring more emotional stories that remind us all to never judge a person too quickly. Morning sunlight had poured through the towering glass windows of the luxurious Evermont Grand Hotel as guests from across the country arrived in expensive cars wearing tailored suits and elegant dresses. The annual Sterling Investment Gala had become one of the most prestigious business gatherings in the nation. Billion-dollar partnerships were announced there, fortunes changed in a single handshake, and reputations were built or destroyed before dessert was served. Everyone attending believed they knew every important face in the room. They were wrong. At the entrance stood a quiet young man named Rowan Hale. His suit looked ordinary compared to the designer clothing surrounding him. His shoes carried faint signs of wear after walking several city blocks because he had chosen to avoid unnecessary luxury. He carried no security team, no assistant, no expensive watch flashing under the lights. To nearly everyone, he looked like someone who had wandered into the wrong event. Yet hidden inside the simple leather folder he carried was the final ownership agreement that would transfer control of a $1 billion renewable energy partnership. The company funding the project had deliberately kept its new majority owner anonymous until the gala, wanting every executive to treat people with respect before revealing who truly held the power. As Rowan entered the magnificent ballroom, conversations paused for only a second before continuing. Waiters moved gracefully between tables covered with white linen while crystal chandeliers reflected warm daylight across golden decorations. The atmosphere looked perfect, but beneath the polished smiles lived pride, competition, and quiet arrogance. Among the guests was Victoria Ashcroft, the glamorous daughter of one of the country's oldest industrial families. She had spent years believing wealth defined value and status determined respect. Seeing Rowan standing alone near the refreshment table immediately convinced her he did not belong. Without asking who he was, she assumed he must have been an assistant, a courier, or perhaps someone who had slipped through security. Several executives nearby exchanged amused glances as Victoria approached him with an expression that mixed confidence with contempt. Rowan remained calm, offering only a polite smile while waiting for the event to begin. Then, in one unforgettable moment, Victoria lifted her glass and deliberately poured dark red wine over his head. Gasps echoed across the ballroom. Expensive fabric turned crimson as wine ran down his face and onto the marble floor. Cameras flashed. Quiet laughter spread through the crowd like wildfire. Rowan never shouted. He never raised his voice. Instead, he slowly wiped his face with a folded handkerchief, straightened his soaked jacket, and simply looked toward the stage where the afternoon presentation would soon begin. His silence confused everyone. Some expected anger. Others expected embarrassment. Instead, they saw dignity. The master of ceremonies eventually invited everyone to take their seats for the keynote announcement. Executives settled around beautifully decorated tables while servers quietly removed broken glass from the floor. Victoria smiled confidently, believing the unpleasant interruption had already become yesterday's news. Then the chairman of the investment consortium stepped onto the stage carrying a polished wooden presentation box. He thanked everyone for attending before announcing that the final investor behind the historic $1 billion clean energy expansion had arrived. Excitement swept through the ballroom as everyone searched for famous billionaires and powerful CEOs. None of them stood. Instead, the chairman walked directly toward Rowan. Every whisper disappeared. He welcomed Rowan Hale as the founder of Horizon Crest Capital, a private investment company that had quietly transformed struggling communities by funding hospitals, schools, and sustainable energy projects around the world without seeking publicity. Rowan had purchased controlling ownership months earlier but requested complete anonymity until the final agreement was ready. His signature alone would determine whether every executive present would become part of the largest business expansion of the decade. Victoria's face lost all color. The same guests who had laughed only minutes earlier suddenly avoided eye contact. Executives who had ignored Rowan rushed forward hoping to introduce themselves. Their smiles returned, but now they looked forced. Rowan recognized the difference immediately. He accepted a fresh jacket offered by a hotel employee, but instead of addressing the humiliation, he thanked the hotel staff for treating him respectfully throughout the morning. He spoke about the importance of character, explaining that true leadership reveals itself not when powerful people meet equals, but when they meet someone they believe has nothing to offer. His calm voice filled the ballroom with a silence heavier than any speech filled with anger could have created. Then Rowan made a decision no one expected. Rather than canceling the partnership out of revenge, he announced that every company wishing to remain part of the billion-dollar project would first commit to a new leadership charter requiring respectful workplace culture, fair treatment of employees, equal opportunity programs, and measurable community investment. Profit alone would never again qualify anyone to become his business partner. Several executives lowered their heads in quiet reflection. They realized they had nearly lost everything because they judged a man by the price of his clothing instead of the content of his character. Victoria stood frozen, overwhelmed by shame deeper than public embarrassment. For the first time in many years, she understood how easily privilege could blind someone to basic human decency. She approached Rowan after the ceremony with genuine regret written across her face. She offered no excuses, knowing none would matter. Rowan accepted her apology with grace, reminding her that real change begins the moment pride gives way to humility. Forgiveness, he explained, never erases the past, but it gives people the chance to build a better future. Months later, the billion-dollar project transformed rural towns by creating thousands of jobs and bringing affordable clean energy to families who had waited decades for opportunity. Many companies involved adopted the leadership charter permanently, improving workplaces far beyond financial success. Victoria herself established scholarship programs for underprivileged students, quietly honoring the lesson that one unforgettable afternoon had taught her. The story of the man covered in wine before 200 guests spread across business schools and leadership conferences, not because of the humiliation itself, but because of the extraordinary grace that followed it. Rowan proved that dignity cannot be stained by another person's cruelty, and true greatness never needs expensive clothing to announce its arrival. If this story touched your heart, please like this video, leave a comment, share it with your friends and family, and subscribe to Heartline Stories. Your support allows these meaningful stories to reach more people who need hope and inspiration today. Special request, comment below, character is worth more than appearance. We'd love to know where you're watching from and what lesson this story left in your heart. Sometimes the richest person in the room is not the one wearing the finest suit, but the one carrying the greatest kindness. And sometimes, the most powerful signature in the world belongs to the quietest person everyone chose to underestimate.